What's going on, Bauds? Welcome back to the Baud Fawk Sports Podcast. My name's Justin, and as usual, I'm here with my broski Tarren.
What's going on, everyone?
Yeah, today we're going to dive right back into the world of the NBA. There's been some nice headlines, but I think up first, let's talk about the Rockets drama with Christian Wood and Kevin Porter Jr. getting suspended recently.
Yeah, so just some crazy stuff. You can tell that, they're a little frustrated about the season. Um, Christian Wood, just, this is kind of expected from him now. Like, he's always kind of causing problems. And Kevin Porter Jr., too. I don't know if you remember, just before they traded him from Cleveland, he was flipping out because they moved his locker. So,
Yeah, I
uh,
do.
yeah, I guess, this is nothing new. He apparently Kevin Porter Jr. was throwing stuff at coaches in the locker room. So not really sure what to make of that. I mean, clearly he's got some anger issues, but you know, I'm not sure exactly what went on behind the scenes, so I can't fully speak on like who's right and who's wrong. But I mean, like, damn, like what are you doing, bro? And for this to go public, like, someone had to tell, and so I it just kind of seems like a toxic place over there in Houston.
Yeah, honestly, it's not a good look for everyone involved, really, because like we've talked about Houston many times before. They're in no shape to, like be having this conversation with the team. Like, imagine you're just a coach and you say, "Yeah, guys, so we had to suspend these two players because their actions." I think it's a one-game suspension, and they're just, yeah, it's just been a really interesting season for Houston. A couple of years ago they had James Harden and Russ and were a playoff team. Now I think they have like 10 wins on the year, and this is going on with two of their better players, really. So I don't really know what to make of it. It's the most Rockets thing ever. And with those two specifically, like you mentioned, they do have a past, but I'm just disappointed in them as fans because, as a fan of basketball, why two like star players, if you will, acting like that? I don't know. And Houston are horrible. So it's like you got to set the example. So I don't know. I think one of them or even both of them should get traded at some point, even though they are good. Just off season, if they're going to continue acting like Kardashian, just get out of here because Houston are already down bad, but they just do not need this, like on top of everything.
Yeah, I mean, like they're dealing with a lot of stuff. They're also, struggling with people like John Wall on the team who are just kind of useless. So they have a lot of useless players and a lot of anger and toxicity. I feel bad for Steven Silas, honestly. Like he's definitely having a rough go at his first head coaching job. Uh, I I know I wouldn't want to be there in Houston right now. I mean, on the money he's making, I would take it, to be honest. But uh, it's definitely not a desirable job. So I do feel bad for him. You got to deal with all these hotheads, these young guys who, honestly, I think they just think that they're better than they actually are. They got kind of an ego. So um, nothing against them. They are like some really good players. Like we know Christian Wood, like he's probably the biggest, guy on that team. He's a star, but just falling out with so many players, and now they're not even. I think they're like they don't even want to play him anymore, like because he's just causing so many problems. So I don't know. I don't know if maybe they should trade them as soon as possible or try and fix things because they're really good young players, man. If you are in a rebuild process, like Christian Wood is kind of a guy you don't want to lose, but if he's going to cause problems for you, then you really have no choice.
Yeah, and it just sucked to see because I remember we talked about Houston one time and then they went on like that 6 game winning streak. And now they're back in 10th or 15th place, sorry, in the West with a 10-27 record, and they're 1-9 in the last 10 games. So that's just not what you want to see. And then to have this happen, it really affects that dressing room. And I know no one in Houston really had expectations this year, but like, oh my God. Like, that meme where it's like, I know our expectations were low, but like holy, it's like what is going on right now? So maybe not trade them. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh. But like if I'm like the GM or the coach and I'm seeing this and like this is something I'm not gonna forget when looking on giving someone a big contract maybe or like what I'm gonna do to build the team around them because if you're gonna be throwing chairs at coaches and you're a grown man, like what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's tough for them, right? So, like Kevin Porter Jr., I think is less of an asset than Christian Wood. So, I guess maybe you could get him out, maybe get something. But he was traded. You could tell the Cavs really didn't want him. He was traded to Houston for a second round pick, like a late second round pick, which basically means like in NBA terms, like you're worthless pretty much. Like you're basically take him for free. So clearly he has problems wherever he goes. He's throwing stuff at coaches, and he left the game at half. Like he just wasn't there. So and Christian Wood now, like this has been problem after problem. I think he didn't show up for their COVID testing, and then he's just been giving attitude to like the coaching staff and the usual. So we have seen players with attitude still make it in the NBA, but you got to work on your attitude. Like you can't be like this, especially as a young player. You know what I mean? Like you don't have that veteran presence. Like people aren't willing to put up with that kind of thing. Like if someone like LeBron James flips out and gets mad, people are going to be a little more like okay with it, a little more like understanding. If you're a 21-year-old who got traded to Houston for literally like nothing, like you got traded for a second rounder, like you just don't have that power, bro. Like you need to relax. And Christian Wood, like people were like, his contract with Houston, like it seems low for like the production he's giving, but I think there's a reason for that. You know what I mean? Like I think he's really showing his true colors. So, Houston definitely have a problem, and I'm not sure how they can fix it without having to even make their rebuilding process even longer now.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see, and definitely they do have the talent, those two players in particular, but it's like which organization, if it's not Houston, are gonna want to handle them. And the only organization that comes to my mind is the Kings, just because we know how dysfunctional they are. But like on a serious note, if I'm like a contending team or whatever, I would not look to want to bring those two into my team just because of their off the court antics. Like you can't be throwing chairs at coaches and causing scenes. And I'm surprised, like I'm most surprised that they only got suspended one game. Like I thought it would have been at least a 2-game minimum.
Well, especially like with Wood, I understand because he was just kind of like giving attitude, not showing up stuff, but Kevin Porter Jr., like, dude, you're throwing stuff at coaches, like, and then you left the game halfway through, like,
yeah, that's oh my god,
1 game suspension, like, I'd definitely like more than one. I'd probably give him 5.
Yeah, like you can't leave the game. Like you're just quitting on the team. You're quitting on, your players. You're supposed to be your brothers on the court. And it's like to leave, it's like, yeah, you're right. I think a 5-game generally would have been like, that would have been valid. So I'm not surprised that that these players did that. I'm just more surprised that it's like, really, man, they're gonna do all that and only get a 1-game suspension. It's like, what else they're gonna do? It's like so.
Well, they're basically getting away with it. Like a 1-game suspension isn't really gonna do anything. Like it's just showing them that, like you can, potentially injure your coaches and we'll just give you a slap on the wrist. Like, I don't know, man. I think like maybe they should lay down the law a little bit harder on these guys to show them like you can't do this, because at the end of the day, they're in a rebuild. If they make some of them sit out more games, like what you're gonna lose anyway, probably. So like what's the big difference if you make them sit out? So yeah, like they got to do something about this, but I don't know. Like it doesn't seem like they're really forceful with these players, clearly, because they feel like they can just do whatever they want.
Yeah, no, for real. But I mean, I think let's stop talking about the pathetic 10-27 Houston Rockets. We're gonna talk about another pathetic team. I hate to say it, but the Los Angeles Lakers, their struggles continue. Sitting at an even record, aren't they? 19-19 right now. I'm pretty sure that's just not what you want to see from this team after 38 games. So I need to know your thoughts on the Lakers recently.
Well, they did just win 2 in a row. Portland and Minnesota.
Huge victories.
I mean, the Portland game was good. I saw some stuff that I liked. I mean, I don't like having to see LeBron James at 37 still have to carry a team. But, I mean, really can't do anything about it. And then the Timberwolves game, like, I don't know, it wasn't a great game, but still got out with the win, so can't complain. But to be at 500 this far into the season, definitely not making me hopeful for the second half of the season for the Lakers.
Yeah, Portland and Minnesota should be easy wins, but like you said, seeing LeBron have to go off the way he does to get those wins is just man, it's very disheartening to say the least. And I remember what we said at the beginning. We're like, yeah, if they're still 500 going into like this All-Star break, kind of time period, then I'll be kind of worried. And I think the All-Star break will be the best thing for them at this point, and that's a legit break. But wow, man, if they're gonna like be 500 for the whole year, then it's not looking good. But they really need to bounce back. I don't even know what to say anymore. I've probably said everything about them, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. Like it's not looking good for them and their championship aspirations today.
Yeah, and a lot of people will point to, oh well, Anthony Davis is out, but Anthony Davis was there and this is still going
Yeah.
on. So like, it's that much of a big deal? Like, I don't know, man. But yeah, just a lot of inconsistencies. Like, I know we've said this time and time again, but they got to work on their defense, especially. They brought in Stanley Johnson.
Yeah, former Raptor. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we know he's a good defender, kind of an absolute joke on offense, but as a defender, like, he's quality. So maybe he'll help, but he's not going to be like the answer. He's not our saving grace. You know what I mean? Like, he's a role player. So a role player who can't do anything offensively. So
Yeah.
definitely not gonna save everything. And we have just traded recently Rondo to the Cavs because Ricky Rubio is out for the season.
Yeah.
Prayers up to him. It does kind of suck to see him go down for so long. But yeah, so they got Rondo, and I think we traded for Denzel Valentine. I don't think his future is at the Lakers. I'm pretty sure we're going to let him go and maybe use the roster spot for someone else. Maybe we will keep him, but I just don't think he's like that great, really.
Yeah, no. I want to quickly touch on Stanley Johnson. I remember when he was on the Raptors. Yeah, I thought, wow, man, this is like a good, little role player addition. He's great on defense. But the reason why we let him go and stuff is because apparently he has a horrible attitude in the gym, meaning he just doesn't want to work hard, and that's why we see him be horrible on offense because he just doesn't want to work hard to get better. And when I hear young players like that, and granted, I don't know how old he is now, but at the time when he was on us, he's still probably pretty young now. But I just don't think
He's 25.
good. Yeah, like 25, But yeah, I don't know. I just hope that Stanley Johnson in particular has some extra motivation to do good because he's playing now with like LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, A Disney, so it's like even Carmelo Anthony's there. That's probably someone he looked up to growing up because he's, a basketball fan. So to have all these like star players around you, I really hope he could just look good and put in the work. And if not, just get rid of him. Cause like I've seen this before with on the Raptors. I didn't like him then. So I really hope he could turn it around in my eyes. But yeah, Denzel Valentine as well. I don't know what he's been doing lately in the NBA, but I know he was decent in college. But yeah, like I don't think we're gonna keep him. Kind of like you said, I think we'll probably bring in someone else and just waive him. But if he does stay, I hope he does something good. Haven't really, the Lakers are. I'm not gonna call them a lost cause just yet, but I feel like it's like, damn, what more can I say that we haven't?
We're on the way.
Yeah, so it's like, will Denzel Valentine and Stanley Johnson turn this team into a 50, win team? Probably not. So just with that being said, I do see the struggles continuing until the All-Star break, if I'm being honest. And I hate to say that because that was kind of something that I wanted to avoid. But I just think post All-Star break, like maybe the first 5-7 games, I think that will decide the Lakers season. If they go like 5-2 over 7 games, okay, sir, we have a chance to actually turn this around. But if they go 3-4 or 4-3, it's like, we can just pack our bags and we'll see you guys next season. Like if they're still doing this like that late into the season, I'm not really looking forward to how the season is going to play out.
Yeah, it's not looking great. But I don't know, maybe Stanley Johnson and whoever else we pick up, like these rotational players are really just not going to do enough. Like the really big thing that they need to succeed is Anthony Davis to come back and to play like prime Anthony Davis as he should be. I just think that this injury might ruin him for the season because coming back from injury is hard, especially as a big man. It takes you a lot longer to rehab. Got so much weight and it's just harder for them, especially Anthony Davis. We know him, like he's just got constant problems. So it's going to make him scared to, get physical, which is what we were calling for him to do before he got injured. So it's just going to be even worse now. He's going to start settling for more jump shots, which he's been terrible at this entire season. So that's kind of a worry for me. And LeBron James has been really good recently, like killing it. But we shouldn't have to rely on that. Like I just with his injury problems now and his age, like that's just not something I can count on right now. LeBron James, being like LeBron James, like it's just I can't count on that every game. So and Russell Westbrook is up and down. He had a bad game against Minnesota, good game against Portland. He's kind of all over the place. Definitely a bit better than the start of the season. Like he has been on like a pretty good run of form for a while, but he still has these games where he's inefficient and a lot of turnovers. So I'm not really sure if I was in the position to fix this team, like I would have no clue what to do really. Like I have some ideas, but at the end of the day, like the players just kind of need to play better. So there's really just not much that you can say, and Stanley Johnson is not going to help us do that. Did you know he was drafted 8th overall?
Yeah, like when we got him on the Raptors, I didn't even know that much about him, honestly. But I was like, okay, let me look up who this is. I saw 8th overall pick. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, he has to be good. And then now look at him, right? But yeah, like the thing about like I'm gonna go on what you just said too. I wouldn't know what to change either, because at the end of the day, like there are some things that a coach could implement, whether it's like a defensive style, offensive plays, yada yada yada. But at the end of the day, the coach is just sitting on that bench. The 5 players out there on the court plus the bench have to, put in their work. And when you got on paper, LeBron, Russ, AD, Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony, THT, and Stanley Johnson, Malik Monk, Avery Bradley, like on paper, just saying the names, it's like, whoa, okay, that's a pretty good roster. Like, they're definitely a contender, top 3 in the West. I don't know what place they're in, but they're 19-19. It's like I just personally
7th.
Yeah, 7th, bro. Like that's horrible. I can't look at Frank Vogel and be like, listen, man, you need to go, because if we bring in another coach, I don't know what they're gonna do. Like, what are they gonna do for the team? It looks horrible at times, but we've seen the highs, such as the recent W's that we just took, but then like the lows, like losing to OKC, I think twice, blowing like 20 leads. It's like, what's gonna happen if this team makes it to the playoffs and faces Phoenix or Golden State in round 1? Like, what are we gonna do? Oh yes, okay.
Telling you, bro. I'm telling. There might be a Josh Giddey jersey coming in the future. Sick. But
bro, real quick on Josh Giddey, youngest player ever to have a triple double, just broke Melo's record. How are we feeling about that?
I like Josh Giddey. He's a sick player. I think he's going to be a really good player in the future of this league. Obviously, still very young, still trying to figure things out. Just not super consistent. But yeah, like I like him. He's good. Him, Lou Dort, and Shai are gonna be some great players for OKC in the future. We just need like another star. We need like a big guy, because Shai is that guy, but that's bars. But I think he's a better second guy. He's not the LeBron James. He's maybe like the Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
Which Dwayne Wade was a great first guy as well. But you need another guy to become like a top tier team. Lou Dort is looking like really good. But yeah, we have a lot of draft picks, so I'm sure we'll hit on one of them. So yeah, I'm excited for OKC's future and Josh Giddey. Not so much for the Lakers, but I mean, what can you really do about that? At the end of the day, OKC is still my team. Once Russ retires, I will just go back to just supporting OKC. Hopefully, they'll be a little better by then. But I mean, we'll see, man. I don't know. Things are looking up. Like even if we're losing a lot of games, the OKC fans, like know that a rebuild has to happen, know that we're in it for the long haul, and things look bright. We're not looking like Houston or
Yeah.
or the Pelicans, like we have a bright future. Them on the other hand, I don't know, man. Like, like a team like the Kings, like where are they going? I'm pretty sure De'Aaron Fox will be gone at least in a couple of years, and then there'll be nothing.
Oh my God. So I have a quick question, as a big Russ and OKC fan that I know you are, just want to give you a hypothetical. So it's like the year 2026, Russell Westbrook has just retired in the summer and now going to the next season, right? It's the first season in your life since you've been watching basketball with no Russ. What if in that season OKC won the championship? How would you feel?
I'd be ecstatic. That would be amazing. Like, obviously, um, I hope Russ gets a ring before he retires. But if OKC can become a top team again, that would make me extremely happy. Uh, Obviously, I wish Kevin Durant never left, because I think if he stayed, showing just looking at hindsight, like what Russ did as soon as after he left, like that season was insane. That was his prime, of course. I think if KD stayed, and maybe we got a better coach, because Billy Donovan was a joke. Maybe we got a better coach, and maybe some better shooting role players, because like we had no shooters on that team. Um, so I think we could have won the chip. I honestly think if we didn't blow that 3-1 lead to Golden State that year, I think we would have beaten the Cavs. I think we would have won the chip. So
That would have been
uh,
such a great finals, bro. KD and Russ versus Bron and Kyrie. Like that
I
would have
know.
been so good.
I know we messed that up big time. That was one of the most depressing moments of my entire life, to watch us blow that 3-1 lead.
Yeah,
So
would you say that if you could change any sports moment, would it be that? So you could get the opportunity to play in that finals with that team?
yeah, I mean that's definitely up there. Um, I don't know, like I might even just go and say that we just never get rid of James Harden.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Maybe that would be something I would change, because I don't think he would have ever reached like the player that he is today, if he stayed on OKC, but like he still would have been a top player. Like he was still looking like one of the best players in the league when he was on OKC, like six man of the year easily. Um, and if they figured it out and he continued to improve, I think we would have been a dynasty.
Yeah, no, for real. Like looking back on just on that, what was it, 2016? Yeah, that 2016 OKC team. I thought they would have killed the Cavs because it was 2016, right? Or is it
Yeah,
2016? Yeah, I think they would have killed the Cavs in the finals. Honestly, I was like the way that they were playing against Golden State in
yeah.
those first four games. I'm like, wow, if they play like that in the finals, 'cause I thought they're gonna make it. Like it's over, and obviously we know what happened next, sadly. But literally, like if we got to see that team in the finals, I just think Russ and Durant would have been more motivated than anything Irving and LeBron and Kevin Love and all those guys could have done. And I think it was OKC's to lose. So that would have been a special final. That's why I'm really hoping that, somehow, some way Russ gets traded to Brooklyn, bro. Like that would
Imagine.
be amazing. Like I really hope that happens because then Russ goes like a contender and we get that big three back, bro. Like it could happen.
That would be insane. I doubt it would ever happen, but um, I'm all for it. Link back up the trio, because at this point, like I don't want to say I've fully forgiven Kevin Durant, but I definitely don't hate him.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could ever fully forgive him for what he did to us and Russell Westbrook, because like that was just the weakest move in NBA history. Like I don't care what anyone says, you're just a weak-minded person.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go to the team that beat you, like literally just right before, like free, like really, man, like that's just weak. And they're like they won 73 games. Like they didn't even need you. Like so at the end of the day, like I'll never truly forgive him, but I would forgive him if he got Russ a ring.
Yeah.
So that's it. But definitely not going to happen. I don't think Russ would want to link back up with Kevin Durant anyway, to be honest. Um, but it would be cool. Kyrie and LeBron back on the same team, and then obviously the OK3, but in Brooklyn that would be insane. But I mean, to trade for someone like Russ, like you got to give up a lot of money, and at the end of the day, even with Kyrie not able to play a lot of games, like they're just not going to do that because Russ is just like he's old now. So,
Yeah.
But cool scenario, obviously.
Yeah, I might have to load up NBA 2K22 and just do that on my career, whatever it's called,
Yeah.
and just get it done.
Yeah, for sure. So let's keep with the Nets, and let's talk about the Nets and Sixers game.
That's a great game.
Yeah, a lot of headlines as the Sixers take them down. KD and Joel Embiid were talking a lot of trash at the end. I thought maybe it was going to continue, but then they gave each other respects at the end of the game. Joel Embiid went on to say, you know, he believes like he's one of the best in the league, and he can do pretty much everything. And the only guy that he thinks can really keep up with him or is better than him is Kevin Durant. So, that is big praise. Like Joel Embiid is a really good player.
Yeah.
I always say I think he's the best center in the league. A lot of people say Jokic. He did win the MVP, but Joel Embiid got second and played a lot less games because of injury. So not like he's like some scrub. Like Joel Embiid is a monster. So, and I think Joel Embiid, if he's fully healthy and fully giving it his all, like he's easily better than Jokic. I think just because at the end of the day, his defense, I think just it outweighs Jokic's passing ability. Like his passing ability is great, but there are point guards for that. When I want someone to protect the rim, I would rather my center, be able to block some shots and put some pressure. Like Jokic is just not that great of a defender, so I still think he's the best center in the league, and I think he's been proven that recently. He's been killing it. We saw him absolutely torch the Celtics, and now just going back, I think he had 34 points against the Nets, and he's just been killing it.
Yeah, no, Joel Embiid, I think undisputably, when he's healthy, top 10 player in the league. You make the argument for top 5 all the time. I like Embiid. And yeah, like I think the thing that I could give him credit for, and same goes really with that whole Sixers team, is that they're really like gritty, like they never give up on the games. And like I didn't expect them to win personally, but then he went off at 34. I'm like, wow, that's like a really good win for them. And I think, with kind of like the hype around the Nets, like the Warriors and the Suns, I feel like the Sixers are kind of underrated. I feel like they've been kind of going under the radar recently. And I don't want to be too reactionary because just one win against the Nets. But I feel like if you want to call the Nets title contenders, I feel like the Sixers might just be their biggest threat. Come playoff time, obviously we'll see how that, pans out, because obviously there's the Bucks and the Heat on that side of things, plus the Bulls are tearing it up. But I really do think that Embiid, especially, like that whole Sixers franchise is very motivated to do something good this playoffs after the recent failures that they've had. And I just think a game like that just shows how good they really could be, giving the Nets a game and winning in the end too. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how the Sixers team does for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and they got that win not without, like he was there, but he was pretty much shooting them out of the game. Tobias Harris.
Yeah,
we've seen him come up small in many big games now, and like, dude, at the end of the day, you're a max player. Like you're making pretty much a max. So for him to continually just be garbage in these big games, like I don't know if there's any trade market for him, but maybe I'd look to trade him. I know they still got to trade Ben Simmons. But the fact that they're, I think they're mid-table in the East right now. Obviously, been dealing with some injuries and stuff, but the fact that they're like mid-table and Ben Simmons isn't even playing for them, and Tobias Harris is just kind of a joke. I think that shows a lot about that squad. They are, like you said, they are gritty, and they play well together. Gotta give a huge shout out to Seth Curry. He's one of the best role players in the league by far. He was really good against the Nets. And Tyrese Maxey, he dropped like 25 on the Nets. He was dropping threes. Like he's a really good player as well. So they have some good role players. I think if they can get another like star beside Joel Embiid, like a real star, maybe in a trade for Ben Simmons or Tobias Harris, if they can do that, I think they could really go far. Like you said, like in the playoffs, like they're kind of like a dark horse, I think. I just think they won't be able to actually do anything with just Joel Embiid as the main star because Tobias Harris just isn't a second guy. Like at
Yeah.
best, he's a third.
Yeah. And, it just really shows, however much heat you want to give him, the Ben Simmons effect, because at least when Simmons was there, Tobias Harris was like the third guy at times. But it's like, yeah, now you kind of got this going on. But yeah, I just want to touch on Curry specifically. His brother's having a historic season, but while Seth Curry's actually been playing his best basketball this year, it feels like, him and Maxey, amazing role players. And I think, yeah, honestly, if Steph wasn't having an MVP caliber season, I feel like there would be more love for Seth Curry. But I think he's averaging north of 15 points per game, so he's been playing pretty good. So I don't know. Well, like realistically, what trades do you think that they could or should make? Like what do you think should be their priority?
Well, I did think, targeting someone on the Celtics, but as we just saw, Jalen Brown is back to cooking again. I don't think they're gonna let go of anyone. I don't know, man, because at the end of the day, like Ben Simmons is a hard piece to trade,
Yeah.
and and Tobias Harris is as well. You're making that kind of money and you're not performing well, like not many people are gonna want you. So,
Yeah.
uh, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. This might seem kind of whack, and especially coming from me, but maybe if you could do a Ben Simmons or Tobias Harris trade for Russell Westbrook, get
Oh,
him over there. Some creation at point guard. And I know neither of them are amazing shooters, but I feel like him and Joel Embiid would work well together. They got that gritty mindset. They're very tough players. They don't want to be your friend kind of thing. So I think they would fit in well together. I just don't know if the Lakers would want uh, Tobias Harris. I think they would go for Ben Simmons maybe, uh, but I don't know. Like that's kind of up to the GM.
legit. Yeah, no, for real. The person who I have in mind, and I feel like the Sixers would be 110% for it, but the other team would be like 0%. But that would definitely have to be Bradley Beal from Washington. I just
Oh,
don't
yeah.
think Washington are going to give him up, even though they probably should because they're just wasting his career. But I think
I
if
mean,
they,
I mean, especially for Ben Simmons or Tobias Harris, like I wouldn't do that either. To be
yeah,
fair,
but like, oh, I meant for both. I might be thinking, wow, but
well, the thing is that like they would have to match the salary. That's like
well, yeah, I
Tobias
always
Harris and
forget
Ben
about
Simmons is
that.
almost like 70 million
Yeah, yeah, I know.
combined. So
Yeah, I
they'd have
always
to give
forget
up
about
Bradley
that role.
Beal. Yeah, they'd have to give up Bradley Beal and like maybe like four other players on their roster to match the salary. So I don't think they could do both. Like maybe they'd have to give up maybe Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey. I don't know if the Sixers would want to do that because he's a really good player. But if you can get Bradley Beal, like
Yeah,
you
that would
take
be
that.
amazing.
But the Wizards just they don't want to do it.
Yeah, I hate the Wizards so much, bro. They're just ruining Bradley Beal. Like I hate them. Like I can't stand the Wizards, man.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him get wasted there for years now. Like, but at the end of the day, like you got to start blaming him because like if he really wanted out, he would be gone.
Yeah.
So like he clearly doesn't care that much about winning because if he did, he'd be gone. Uh, and we've seen like the player power movement in the league is huge now. Like if you want out, you'll get out. Like James Harden was not going to wait. He's like, I want out now, uh, and he got out. So player empowerment is huge right now. So I definitely believe like it is on him if he wants to get out. So it sucks that he's being wasted, but at the end of the day, like if I was the Wizards, I wouldn't want to get rid of him either. He's a great talent. So unless you can get something crazy back, I wouldn't want to get rid of him. But he definitely has to go to a contender and show what he can do because all these numbers are great, but if you're putting them up and losing constantly, like what does it really mean? Like that's why I always talked bad about not talked bad, but I never really gave Devin Booker a lot of credit before because
Yeah.
like you put up all these numbers, but you don't win anything. You never make the playoffs. So obviously that changed last year, but uh, yeah, like that's those kind of players like Devin Booker before and Karl Anthony Towns, like you don't even make the playoffs, dude. Like, just stop talking.
Yeah, no, sure. Just on that note, I just think the best stat I've ever heard is that no, not stat, is when Devin Booker, sorry, was like, yeah, I'm done not making the playoffs, and then that season they came last in the whole league. I just wow, bro. But at least they bounced back, like you said. But yeah, no, I definitely hear what you're saying. I don't think Bradley. Well, granted, I don't actually know him personally, but I think he's a nice guy. So I don't think he would make a scene like how Ben Simmons is doing, or even James Harden. But you
Yeah.
have to wonder what his career would be like, whether it's now or 3 years ago, if he was just on a contender and not Washington.
Yeah, I know. It would be crazy to see him actually playing with someone good.
Yeah.
Uh, and and on a good team, because even if you bring in someone good to Washington, like you're still surrounded by Washington. You still have to play with the rest of the garbage there.
Yeah.
So um, yeah, I'd love to see him on a contender, but you know, let's move on. Actually, we just mentioned him there. So there was a little bit of controversy earlier on uh, in the week or last week. So Karl Anthony Towns was on stream, and I think Aiden Ross or someone
Whatever.
asked him, like, what are your thoughts on Russell Westbrook? And you know, I'm all here. I'm all here to, like, hear some honest opinions about players, but he came out and basically says he stat pads and he chases stats and stuff like that. So uh, that's cool and all. And then Draymond Green, I'm sure all you guys saw. Draymond Green came for him and was basically saying, like, dude, we were beating you by 20 and you were still out there. Uh, getting your stats. So, and Karl Anthony Towns, like, his reply to that was, am I the coach? Like, what am I? Dog. First of all, you are the star player of Minnesota. You're the star player, and you never been to the playoffs without Jimmy Butler. So, I mean, good for you. But you're the star player. If you didn't want to play, they're not going to play you. Like, don't give me that I'm not the coach crap. Like, that's BS. So Draymond Green called him out. I thought that was hilarious. And then Joel Embiid came for him in a little more aggressive manner. It was hilarious. I loved it. Not because, specifically he's talking about Russ, but I also just like Joel Embiid. So, and I don't really like Cat, as I mentioned earlier, because, he talks a lot and he's considered like this great player, but you can never make the playoffs. And the only time he ever did was when Jimmy Butler literally carried them on his back. Jimmy Butler had them clearly like in the fourth seed. He went injured and then they were out of the playoff race. And then he came back from injury early and brought them back into the playoffs. So no star player, in my opinion, should have to get carried like that to the playoffs from the fourth seed. And then you have to be brought back into the playoffs after that. So clearly Cat is a joke.
Yeah.
And I want to hear your thoughts on that whole
Yeah,
situation.
I mean, I've been saying for years that I've never rated Cat on the court. I've personally, for the same reasons you just said, I've just never thought he was that good, honestly. And, granted, you're in Minnesota, so I'm not going to be like, oh, well, like they should win championships. But if you're the best player on the team and what you just said with Jimmy Butler happened, then no, you need like a cultural reset. And I hated how Jimmy Butler, I didn't hate this. I just hated that it's true how he called them out saying, yeah, like they don't like to work. That's why, they're not good. So it's like, yeah, Jimmy Butler kind of exposed him. I've never rated him. And for him to say that, it's like, what do you gain from that? Like, oh yeah, Russ is a great player and all, but he chases stats. Dude's an MVP. He's led the league in assists. It's like, how could you just like come for Russ like that? I would like so out of the blue, really. And it's like, I'm gonna bring this up because I have to, but I just think the best stat I think I've probably ever heard in basketball is that Russ has more triple doubles than Cat has career wins. And I just think like that perfectly describes the situation. Like, honestly, you could have a lot of comebacks in life, but if you're able to say, yeah, well, I have more triple doubles in my sport than you have career wins in the same sport, I just think you won. Like, you just won.
Yeah, like you can't compete with that. Like at the end of the day, like he just doesn't win. So you could talk all this trash, but you don't win anything. So yeah, that was a really funny stat. Um, I thought that was hilarious, and Cat was kind of getting clowned by everyone. So
Yeah.
um, I know a lot of people dislike Russ, but there are a lot of people who also don't like Cat because he's just kind of like he's soft, but he talks like he's like some really good player, and not that he isn't a good player, but uh, I'm never going to consider you a top player in your position if you cannot make it to the playoffs. So uh, we saw Russell Westbrook with one of the worst teams assembled I've ever witnessed in the 2016-2017 season, where this jersey is from. Uh, I saw him carry a team to the sixth seed. So I know it's possible. And they're in the same conference. So if you're really that good, you should be able to do it. And this Minnesota team currently, or even in past years, has been better than that OKC team.
Oh yeah.
So
For sure.
you should be able to at least get them to the 8th seed, or at least the play-in tournament on your own. If you're that that guy, if you're a franchise player, you should be able to do that.
Yeah, I just think he's like Cat is really just like a big baby in my opinion because like for what you just said, it's like I'm pretty sure he was the number one overall pick too. It's like you're the number one overall pick. You're what 7 feet tall, you're a freak in nature, but the highlight of your career so far is getting roasted by Jimmy Butler. It's like if Cat retired today and someone asked me in 10 years time, yeah, so who is Karl Anthony Towns? I would say, yeah, he was this 7 feet tall freak in nature who's got told by Jimmy Butler that he doesn't work hard and he got beat by the fourth strings and Jimmy Butler in practice. Like that's how I will remember him. So
yeah, that's one of the greatest moments in NBA history.
Yeah, no.
Jimmy Butler literally beat the entire starting lineup minus himself and a bunch of third stringers. Just beat the first team.
So it's like,
that's sad.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think I've never been a fan of Cat to begin with. And this doesn't make me want to be like, oh, well, let's see how he does on a good team. I hope he stays in Minnesota for his whole career. And I hope he makes 0 playoff appearances. I just don't like him at all. And this was just so out of the blue. Like if it was a question about like maybe LaMelo Ball and he's like, yeah, LaMelo's this and this, he should work on this going forward or something. Cool. Just constructive criticism. Who is Cat to tell Russell Westbrook that he chases stats? Like, who is Karl Anthony Towns to say that? So it's like, who do you think you are, pal? You're just not that guy. Like, you're just not that guy.
Yeah. And I mean, and Cat gets stats too, like, and none of that leads to wins. So, I mean, it looks like he chases stats too. And at the end of the day, there's a base want to be better than everyone. If you can get the stats, if you can put up the numbers, then do it. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you? That's why I always hear these people talking like, he chases the triple double. Bro, if I get 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists, am I not going to go for the triple double? Are you not going to go for the triple double?
Yeah.
So, like, at the end of the day, like everyone wants to get those stats. If everyone could do it, they would. If it's so easy, then just do it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he can talk about chasing stats, but if he's getting the wins, which he definitely has a lot more than Karl Anthony Towns, then you can't really talk.
Yeah, no, and like I hate people who slander Russ for averaging a triple double because that was something that we saw once in a million years, and Westbrook casually did it for 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row. It's like it's not normal to just average a triple double once, let alone consecutive years.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's like when people say like in soccer, oh, this guy's just a tapping merchant. Well, do you want him to score a goal or not? Like, would you rather him just go score?
Yeah.
Like, would you rather Russ average a triple single and like you'd be like, oh yeah, like you trash? Like, what do you want him to do? It's like I feel like it's like they'd rather Russ average like 9, 8, and 7 instead of like 20, 18, and 14. It's like, what do you want him to do? If he's at 8 rebounds, he'll get the boards, get him that triple double, or just get the assist, set up points. What if they're down by 3 and he finds a wide open Malik Monk in the corner for 3? Is he just gonna pass up because it's like, nah, bro, I can't get my 9th assist to go for that triple double? Or is he gonna just pass?
Yeah, like what do you want him to do? And at the end of the day, like the way Russ plays, right? Because he is the most athletic point guard in NBA history. There is no question, really. the way he plays is so fast, sometimes too fast, but he plays so fast. He drives into the basket, obviously, because he's not a great shooter. So he's running inside as fast as possible. If people close in, do you want him to not pass it out to the open shooter? Like that's how a lot of Russ's assists come. He
Yeah.
goes in so fast that he beats his man. Someone else has to come in, and he swings it out to the shooter. The thing is, right, is when you're surrounded by garbage shooters, it's gonna take some more passes. But that's just how he plays, and the rebounds are just gonna come because honestly, like Russ can get 8 rebounds in his sleep. That's just
Yeah.
like he jumps high, he gets there, he reads it well, and if the other two come by someone letting him grab the other 2 rebounds, like who cares? You know what I mean? Like the way you have to play with Russ is you got to let him push the tempo because he is so fast. So you want him getting the ball as soon as possible, get it off the rebound, and run up the court. That's why every team he's on, the pace goes from the bottom half of the league to the top. The Rockets were like I think 27th in pace before Russ came, and then they were like I think they were second or third in the
Yeah.
league for pace. So he plays fast. You want him to get the ball and go up the court. So letting him grab the rebound so he can push the pace is like that. Like that's just what you do. So and then there's always going to be criticism, but yeah, I think Cat just really just cannot talk. And Draymond Green of all people put him in his place. What I didn't expect that. And then Joel Embiid, who him and Russ have had some history. I definitely didn't think he would, you know, not come in his defense because at the end of the day, I really don't think Joel Embiid's thing was about Russ. I think it was more about just coming for. He saw an opportunity and he's like, "Screw it, I'm taking it." So fair enough.
Yeah. Like if he had said that about like Stanley Johnson, I feel like Joel Embiid would have said the same thing. Like he would have been like, "No, this is my chance, bro." And like for everyone at home, we can't say what he said because we just can't say that. So if you don't know what Joel Embiid said, you should go look that up and read the tweet.
Yes, please.
Because it's amazing.
It's yeah, it's amazing. Like when I saw that, like I was dying of laughter just because I already love Joel Embiid. Like he's one of my favorite players. And so, and I don't like Cat. So, and I know they have history. It seems like Joel Embiid has some beef with every center in the league, pretty much. But just to see him come for his head just out of nowhere was hilarious to me. He just saw the opportunity to come at Cat, and I feel like he's been waiting for this moment a long time. Like
Yeah.
it almost seemed like, he's just waiting for Cat to mess up, and he probably had that message saved, like in his notes, ready to copy and paste. It's like, oh, Cat's in the media, boom, send. So, yeah, I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, no. But anyways, quickly, I think we should move on. We were talking about one star point guard. We'll talk about another one. We did talk about Kyrie a few episodes back, and now it's being reported that he will make his season debut on Wednesday for the Brooklyn Nets. Finally, I guess that's the word we use for this situation because it's been Kyrie, in the media off the court, but finally he could rejoin the team, on the court, play with Kevin Durant, James Harden once again. So I'm really excited. If I'm able to, I'm going to watch the game because I just really want to see Kyrie back out there. Granted, this is only for every away game that he's eligible to play in because there are some states that, won't allow him, but New York is not allowing him to play at home. So this is just for the away games. And yeah, I'm excited. What are your expectations though for Wednesday night?
I think he's going to be a little rusty. Obviously, he hasn't played in a while, but I'm definitely going to watch it. I'm definitely excited to see him back. I'm not sure if they're going to like play him like a starter or just have him kind of get back into the thick of things with like some rotation minutes and maybe not his full, like 30 something minutes. But I'm definitely excited to see him because we know he's a talent and even with limited minutes, like he's still going to be a great production piece for them. We can see, James Harden has been a lot better recently, but he was struggling early on in the season. They probably could have used Kyrie and some of his scoring. So it'll be cool to see that trio. It is a little scary if he can come back and he's playing back at his his top level because the Nets are already scary without Kyrie. So if you just add Kyrie, like that's definitely a worry for a lot of teams. But I think he's going to struggle for a bit just to get back into the thick of every game, and he won't even be able to really get comfortable and back to his old self because he's not able to play in like 70% of the games.
Yeah. I mean, granted, for his sake, they are facing the Indiana Pacers, who have been in horrible form. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games. They're fallen to the 13th seed in the East, which is not something I would have thought coming, at the start of the year. But, I feel like if there would be any team that he would play, minus, a handful, I feel like the Pacers are that team, especially right now. So I hope we at least get 20 minutes of Kyrie. I don't think he's going to start. I definitely think he'll come off the bench. I just hope that like you are right. He probably will be like pretty rusty, but I hope it doesn't show that much. I hope we still get some like nice dribbles, some good, passes in there, some nice 3-pointers. But yeah, I'm just really excited. It's just a shame that as of right now, like you mentioned, he can't play in all the games. It's just the away ones that he applies to. So that's a shame because I feel like we're just getting a taste of what we deserve. Because yeah, like we have said in the past, the Nets only played like 12 games with Kyrie, Harden, and Durant last year. So that's crazy to think about. So we haven't even seen them for like a whole season. So I'm looking forward to that point of this, but nothing else. Like I just want to see that big three play together again.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely excited to see Kyrie come back, but it is also worrying for the rest of the teams in the league if he can come back and he's playing at his best self, at his best level. But talking about coming back, Klay Thompson is reportedly coming back sooner than expected. He's shooting around a lot and he's looking ready. So that is definitely a scary addition because Kyrie is scary, but I think Klay Thompson, just the fact that he's such a great shooter and he doesn't rely on his athleticism, like he's gonna come back just fine. And this Warriors team is, as we've seen, like already insane. So if you add Klay back into this team and he's playing at his top level, the Warriors are going to be tough to beat, man.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Already the first place team in the West. It feels like, they're going on the waiver wire, just picking up, just an extra shooter, but they're actually getting Klay Thompson, who is probably a top 3 shooter of all time, if you're being honest. So you got a big help coming back. And, like you just said, he's not super athletic. He's just a pure shooter. He scored 60 points on 11 dribbles one night. So if he could do that, then I think he'll look good coming back. Now, I'm excited as an NBA fan, of course, to see Klay Thompson back. The last time we saw him was in Game 6 of that NBA Finals against the Raptors. And a lot has changed since that Game 6. Funny enough, the stadium that he will be playing in is different because that was an Oracle Arena. They're not even in Oracle anymore. So it's definitely been a long time since we've seen Klay Thompson. And, as a fan, like, oh, I hope the Splash Brothers are back. But as like a basketball Lakers Raptors fan, I'm scared, bro. Like this could be the end again because we've already seen this before with Draymond, Iggy, Curry, and now Klay. We've already seen that before. Now you're gonna add Klay to this team with the Mitten, Gary Payton the second, and other guys like Jordan Poole and Damian Lee. Yeah. Plus, we're still waiting on Wiseman. I don't think he's back yet. Yeah. So, it's a scary thought to have that Warriors team, and I initially thought they would struggle without these players and then get them and be good. They're the best team in the league without Klay Thompson. So it's going to be a scary sight to see, man.
Yeah, I'm just not that I'm hoping, but I don't want him to come back at full strength right away because with Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Seth Curry at full strength, they won 73 games.
Yeah.
And Steph Curry is not slowing down. He's looking like he could win MVP this year, if not, top 3. And he was top 3 last year. I think he was 3rd. So he's not slowing down. He's still playing at an elite level. Draymond is back at a top level, and they've got really good role players. Like you could argue that their supporting cast has been back a day. But we'll see when he comes back if that turns out to be a huge deal. But Clay coming back is good for the league. Like we want him back. So, but let's move on. So Jalen Brown just dropped 50 against the Magic. Absolutely torched them again. To be fair, it is the Magic, but he was struggling a little bit before, and now it looks like he's back and back firing at his full strength. And we did talk about this on the last episode with Floyd, because he's a Celtics fan, and he was saying, just like I was saying earlier at the beginning of the season, like he's been their best player this season. So
Yeah.
To see him back killing it is nice because I really like Jalen Brown. But yeah, like I definitely don't think now that they would trade him for Ben Simmons. I know a lot of people were talking about that. I know you said you would take the chance, but I think with him putting up performances like this, especially with Jason Tatum still not back at his top form, I'm hoping we can see him back eventually, because Jason Tatum, when he's playing at his best, like he's such a joy to watch. He's got that Kobe-esque mid-range game. I'm sure that's training with Kobe.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful to watch. Like I love the mid-range game. I know it's not a big thing in the NBA anymore. We've transitioned to like mostly threes, which is still cool. But those fade away mid ranges and stuff, like I just love the way Jason Tatum plays. So I'd love to see him back at his full form, but they're definitely relying on Jalen Brown a lot. So I don't see a trade for him coming anytime soon. But yeah, like what are your thoughts on Jalen Brown, back and firing?
Yeah, you know what? He's kind of I feel like he watched the podcast and he heard me say, yeah, let's trade Brown for Simmons. But yeah, he's been playing at pretty much an elite level all season. I definitely think he's gonna be an all-star. That 50 piece against, Orlando. Granted, like I said, it was Orlando, but 50 against anyone is a great achievement. So that was great to watch. I definitely think he's elevated, not faster, but I didn't think he would take this big of a step this season. Granted, I wish Tatum was, performing the same way, because we would see them both playing at their best. But I just think that this shows that once you got Tatum and Brown at at their highest level, this is a like legit team. Now they just got to, similar to Lakers, they just got to play. They just got to do it themselves. Yeah. So I just think post All-Star break, I'm not saying this team's going to win a championship this year, but I would definitely like to see Tatum back to his best post All-Star break, and then see how good this team could do, because I think they're only one place above the Raptors, and we know how inconsistent and maybe their depth chart isn't as good as it's been. So if they're only just doing better than the Toronto Raptors, like that's definitely not a performance. So I think that a big second half of the season is going to come for the Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum.
Yeah, for sure. And we've seen Jason Tatum start off a little slow in the beginning of the season and pick it up after All-Star break especially last season. So maybe we'll see him come back. And even recently, like he's had some good games, still dropping some good points on decent efficiency, like mid 40s is decent for Jason Tatum for the volume that he's shooting. And he shoots difficult shots. So if Jason Tatum can shoot like 45% and above, you got to be happy with that, because that for the difficult shots that he's taking, that's solid. So, but yeah, they're in a similar place to the Lakers. They are one game below 500.
Yeah.
And the Raptors actually have a couple games in hand, so they could overtake them if they win. So it's not looking great for Boston as of right now. They're in ninth. And like I said, Toronto has some games in hand. So if Toronto win a couple games, then they're going to drop to 10th.
Yeah.
So, I don't think, like, looking at this Boston Celtics team, they should not be in the play-in tournament. They should be a solid playoff team. If the Cleveland Cavaliers they're in fifth, the Charlotte Hornets are in seventh, and the Wizards are in eighth. Like, you should be able to, like, the Celtics are better than all of those teams. Like, you should be able to overtake any of those teams. So, I definitely like to see them pick it up and get back in there. But it is definitely a little worrying to see, Jason Tatum struggle this far into the season.
Yeah, and like couldn't have said it better myself. If the Cavs and Hornets are ahead of you, then there definitely is something going on. I'm not even talking about Washington. I'm not going to waste my breath on that team. But yeah, definitely I think that Boston should be a solid, playoff team, not a play-in team, because like the play-in I feel like was built for teams like Charlotte and
Yeah.
Avs and I guess the Raptors this year, just on the outside looking in, let's give them a chance. Boston should just be in. So I think second half of the year, I'm not going to say that they're going to, like I said, I don't think this team's winning a championship this year, not what I'm saying at all, but I definitely think they're going to improve and they're probably going to squeak into the playoffs because I think is it the 6th seed that is that's not the plan? It's the 8 and 7 that's the plan, right?
Yeah, it's 8 and 7 against 9 and 10.
Okay, so I definitely think they might actually finish. I was gonna say as the 7th seed, but they could do the 6th seed. But I hope that I hope for like Tatum's sake because Jalen Brown's playing amazing. I hope Tatum could step it up because we've seen how good he could be. He's arguably a top 10, top 15 player on his day. So it's like I want to see that Jason Tatum with this Jalen Brown because that would be deadly. That's like a pretty dynamic duo in the league right there.
Yeah, and I know Floyd said he doesn't think it has anything to do with the coaching, Ime Udoka, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of stuck in the past, but I really think Brad Stevens would be getting a better performance out of these players. I think they would be in the playoffs right now, or like in the playoff bracket.
Yeah.
Right now, if Brad Stevens is still the head coach, nothing against Ime Udoka. I just think. Not that they would be doing insanely better with Brad Stevens. I just think that highly of Brad Stevens. I really think Brad Stevens was one of the best coaches in the league. I thought it was a bad decision to move him up because you have such a talent as a coach. Unless you're going to do something like a Popovich where he does both. I thought that was a bad idea. And maybe I'll be proven wrong, but so far this season, it's not looking good for them. But let's move on quickly to our last segment. We're just going to talk quickly about, one of your favorite players of all time, I'm sure, DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
Just hit 2 back-to-back game winners. And he's been insane all season for the Bulls. So I guess it's not super surprising, but, he's not really a three-point shooter, as we know. Yeah. And both of his game winners were threes. So that's pretty crazy. Got to give him his credit. What was it? It was against. Who was it against? The Cavs? No, against the Clippers.
Who
did he hit them against?
Was it? I think one of them was Washington, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that though. Orlando. Wait, was it Orlando then? They just played Orlando.
Okay, yeah, then it was probably Orlando.
Yeah. So the first
Orlando and Washington.
Yeah. I was so happy with the Washington one, to be honest, because obvious reasons, you guys know why. But yeah, he's just been on a tear for the Bulls. And I'm not surprised because we've seen in the past, DeRozan do this with the Raptors where he's just looking like, one of the best players in the East. His mid-range game. I know you love the mid-range. He's probably the best, consistent mid-range shooter, I would say, in the league, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
So
for sure.
He's been amazing with that. Like Drake once said, the more I see it, the more I like it. But yeah, I'm not gonna say it, but maybe the MVP is what we're looking at. I don't know how long it's gonna keep up for, but that was a huge moment for him personally. Those 2 back-to-back buzzer beater game winners, that, one game-winning buzzer beater is already sick. To do 2 in back-to-back nights is just it's the first time.
I'm pretty sure it's the first. Yeah, first time in history.
Yeah, so that's an incredible feat for DeRozan. I have nothing against him. Obviously, I love him. One of my favorite players ever, Raptors legend. So I'm happy to see him succeed. So that was a really great moment for me too.
Yeah, and he has the Bulls winning. They're in first in the East, and he's easily their best player. So gotta give him his credit because I thought not that he was washed. But I thought he was definitely on the decline at San Antonio. I think he should have moved earlier, to be fair. I think San Antonio just wasn't built for him. And I think this team has really rejuvenated his passion almost, it looks like. On San Antonio, he looks so uninterested and maybe even still hurt about what happened. which fair enough. He's come out publicly and talked about, how that trade affected his mental health. And, that's definitely got to be hard on a player. You give your all for a team and they just throw you away. It's definitely got to be hard. So I can understand why maybe he was a little more down and not playing his best. But on this Chicago team, like DeRozan looks like old DeRozan, like if not even better. So it's crazy to see. And I don't know, maybe Chicago can push for something in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it would be crazy because I remember, growing up as a Raptors fan, you'd always hear like, damn, like DeMar DeRozan is really like the second coming of MJ, just the best mid-range player in the league. And now he's actually playing in Chicago, which I think is funny. Like, it's very ironic in the grand scheme of things. But I mean, I would love it if they did win, honestly, because I hate that we won the championship without DeRozan, because like I remember when I was talking to some of my friends about this, I was like, yeah, like, I hate to say it, but if we want to win, we're gonna have to trade him, because Lowry, we were never gonna get Kawhi for just Lowry. Like, it had to be DeRozan. So I'm like, if you want to make a big trade to win, it sadly had to be with him. So I hate that he was not a part of that team. But I just think that he of all people would deserve it. We got the likes of Russ, who doesn't have a ring, Chris Paul, Damon Lillard. I think like he falls into that category of someone who deserves a championship just because of how, great they've been their whole career. So I would love it if Chicago won, honestly, if it wasn't like the Lakers or the Raptors this year. I would love it if DeMar got to win that ring, and hopefully he would win finals MVP. So I feel like that would be like a great achievement for him as well.
Yeah, like that would be crazy. Maybe they could do it. Like, they are looking really good. Alex Caruso, maybe he gets another ring. And he just shows, he was the best player on that Lakers team. But but yeah, in all seriousness, like, I don't think they will, just because there are teams like Milwaukee, Philly, Miami, and the Nets in the East that, like, those are big boys, man. Like, those are hard to contend with, even if you are first in the league. It's a different game when it comes to playoff time.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you have those, like, nothing against DeMar DeRozan, but him as your main star, I've seen him come up short too many times in the playoffs to actually think he would lead them anywhere. And the fact that there are teams to compete with just in the East that Kevin Durant is not someone to scoff at. And then they also have James Harden, Kyrie's back now. Like, that's a team that's hard to beat. And then at the end of the day, like, Milwaukee are the reigning champions. So again, you got to compete with Giannis, who's putting himself back in the MVP race now. Miami look insane. They have Kyle Lowry now as well, and players like Jimmy Butler is always amazing. Tyler Hero is a really good player. Bam. So going to be tough, but maybe they could surprise everyone, maybe even get to a conference finals or something, and show that they are a real force to be reckoned with. Because at the end of the day, even though they're in first, I don't think anyone's going to take them seriously until they truly actually do something in the playoffs.
Yeah, and just to go on that note, I think with all the teams and players you've just mentioned, we've seen them perform in the playoffs. Durant is a champion, Giannis is a champion, Jimmy Butler's made it to the finals, and honestly, like that was one of the best performances I feel like in playoff history, the run he had.
Sure.
Champion. So it's like DeRozan hasn't done it. So I feel like it's make or break time, And on that note, there is two different sides of it. I will say, just because I did watch, obviously I watched him like on the Raptors. I feel like it wasn't just DeRozan. I feel like the Raptors as a whole maybe underperformed. It did start with him though, because he was the star.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't just him. It's just he was the main guy.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm just gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. In this case, I'll be like, hey, I'll give you a pass on that, because let's see what you could do with this new team with someone like you got Caruso, Levine, Vucevic is on the team, Lonzo Ball. So it's like, let's see what you could do with this group of players, because hopefully you won't have the same supporting cast just failing to perform and underperforming. Like hopefully the team around you could also be consistent, and that would lift you up. So I'm excited to see what this Bulls team could do. I am dreading though, because I don't know how it would line up with the math and the standings, but I would hate it if the conference finals was Miami and Chicago, like if I had to see DeRozan go up against,
Oh my gosh,
I would be
that'd be
so
crazy.
sad. It would be crazy. That would be an amazing story. But yeah,
Yeah,
if they make a good playoff run and DeRozan somehow wins a ring, that would be just amazing.
yeah, I think just to end it off, I think for me to really take this Bulls team serious and DeMar DeRozan serious as just like an all-time player, if I think obviously he wouldn't make like any like huge like all-time list, but for me to like really take this guy serious, like he would probably have to make the conference finals at least,
Yeah.
because if they are the first seed, let's say everything stays the way it is, I don't think it will, but if it does, they're the first seed, and the eighth seed is Washington. So you should destroy them, right? Like you should destroy them, and then so the second round would be their true test. So if they don't make it to the conference finals, then this team I just can't take them serious.
Yeah.
But I think we'll end it off there, and I do want to thank all you Bauds for checking in and watching our videos, sharing and liking, and we appreciate all your support.
Yeah, thank you once again, Bauds. We enjoy making these videos for you guys. And yeah, continue that support on social media. We appreciate it. And yeah, thank you everyone who made it this far. I hope you guys have a good one.